Hey everyone, it's Ethan or Miist back again for another video today, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another video, and today I'm going to be talking about every movie I watched last week, and it was an interesting week. We have one of my least favorite watches of all time, and what is quickly becoming one of my most favorite movies of all time as well, plus a new release. So yeah, let's get into it. We're going to start it off with one of my least favorite watches ever, which is Catwoman, which I ranked a solid 7 out of 100. So, pas bon. Not good at all. Really didn't enjoy my time with this one. I had low expectations heading into it, and for the most part, no, that's not true. There were parts where I honestly didn't hate it as much as I expected to, but man, I absolutely hated this depiction of Catwoman. It was fucking ridiculous, and her suit was so fucking stupid. I fucking hated it. And just not good at all. Especially seeing the just amazing Catwoman that's back there. Like, brutal. Speaking of Catwoman, here's my Catwoman. She just came in to say hi. So yeah, overall, like I said, one of my least favorite movies I've ever watched. It was absolutely brutal and not a fun watch by any means. So let's move on to the next watch by quite a big jump, which is Night Swim, a 2024 release, which overall it was okay for the most part. Like, it was kind of bad, I would say. Like, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever watched. I ranked it a 42 out of 100, which is pretty average for this year. Most of my reviews or movies are right around that range. So, yeah, it was pretty predictable, and obviously you can read my review, but my favorite part about this entire movie was the movie poster, for sure. So, I'm not even going to really talk about this one. Let's just move on to The Ratcatcher. I finally watched all of Wes Anderson's short films that were released on Netflix last year. I never really just got around to it, and I've been really wanting to, so this also kind of boosted my numbers on Letterboxd a little bit. So yeah, I watched all four of them, and I really enjoyed pretty much all of them, but this one was my least favorite. So this one just made me really uncomfortable. Ray Fiennes just really reminded me of, I think it's Peter Pettigrew from the Harry Potter movies, The Rat, and it just really sketched me out, and I didn't like it at all. It just got the same vibes here, and it was just really gross. But I'm just not a fan of rats, I guess, so that's probably why. But overall, it was still pretty good, or still decent, I'd say. I ranked it a 65 out of 100, so not bad or anything, but just not my favorite. But it's definitely a great performance from Ray Fiennes as well. So, with that being said, we'll move on to another one, which is Poison, which is a super different directing style for Wes Anderson, which I really enjoy. There was a bit of shaky cam, there was some different camera work as well, and I thought it was quite unique for Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson's pretty still on the camera for the most part, which I really like, and of course his filming and his film style is super unique, and there's definitely a lot of that in this. Like, a lot of that flair is in this movie still as well, or I guess short film. And overall, it's just really fun and enjoyable, and I like pretty much every Wes Anderson movie, so this is definitely no exception with a 70 out of 100. I enjoyed it. The story was pretty interesting. Obviously, it's a short film. I don't need to talk about it a whole lot, but let's move on to The Swan, which was my second favorite of the four, and this one was easily, without a doubt, the saddest. This one was really sad, actually, and it was quite depressing at times, and it was a very sad story, and obviously all of these were based off of short stories that Roald Dahl, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, had made back in his lifetime, and yeah, that's they're very interesting because apparently some of them are based on true stories, or they were all based on true stories ish, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. So this one's really sad if you think about it, and very scary as well. But I ranked this one a 75 out of 100. Like I said, it is my second favorite. But yeah, overall, let's move on to Bottoms, which is a really fun coming of age story that I really enjoyed, and it was really funny as well. I really enjoyed about the first hour of this movie, but the third act didn't really sit right with me. I didn't enjoy it that much. I plan on ranking this very highly while I was about halfway through the movie, and then I just didn't really enjoy the last third or the third act. Like I said, it just wasn't a whole lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun, but I just didn't enjoy it that much. I don't know, it just seemed a little wild, I guess. But this movie was pretty wild, but there's definitely some good themes in this movie. Some hilarious acting. Nicholas Galitzine, for sure, was honestly my favorite part about this movie. Jeff was just hilarious. I loved his character, and I thought it was funny. But yeah, overall, for the most part, I enjoyed this movie. I ranked it a 79 out of 100, so it almost gets that 4-star, so it's not, amazing or anything, but I did enjoy my time with it, that's for sure. So let's move on to my favorite of the Wes Anderson short films that came out on Netflix last year, which is The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. This one was just the most interesting, and this really probably is everyone's favorite of the bunch, just because of, there's more time with this one. We get about 40 minutes with this one, where we only get about 15 with the others. So, yeah, this one was my favorite, like I said, an 82 out of 100, and I can't preface this enough. I love Wes Anderson's filmmaking. It's super unique, especially in today's culture. Like, there's just no movie like Wes Anderson movies, in my opinion, and I love that because it's super unique. Like I said, his movies are so colorful, they're so beautiful, the directing is really interesting, and it's almost like it's a live play with different sets going up and down, and I really enjoy that. And overall, this was, like I said, just the most interesting story of the four as well. It's just my favorite, so that's why it gets that 82 out of 100 to actually become one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies in general, which is kind of interesting. So I would have been cool to see more time with this one as well. That would have been pretty interesting, but overall, like I said, my favorite of the Netflix releases from last year. So let's move on to Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which is one of the last few Miyazaki films I've had to watch to get through his discography or filmography, and this one is great. Also, pretty much every Hayao Miyazaki movie is great, and this one at an 82 out of 100 is actually one of the lower ones, which is pretty surprising. I feel like my list of Miyazaki films is all over the place, especially compared to some others. I feel like mine, is up and down, so that's pretty interesting. But yeah, overall, Nausicaa, an absolute queen and an absolute boss in this movie, and she was great. But yeah, obviously, an 82 out of 100, it's still a great movie. I really enjoyed it, but it is actually one of my least favorite Miyazaki films, surprisingly, which is wild because it's an 82 out of 100. That's obviously just shows how great his filmography is. And one of my favorite games throughout all of Miyazaki's films is guessing the English cast, because a lot of them are pretty old, so it's fun to guess the cast and know and recognize these voices. But anyways, let's move on to what has become one of my favorite Miyazaki films. At an 89 out of 100, The Wind Rises, and this is actually only like 10 years old right now, or about 11 years old, and yeah, like I said, this has easily become one of my favorite Miyazaki films. I absolutely loved this one. This was a very interesting, based on a true story, about a pilot, essentially, and, well, not a pilot, but a aircraft engineer. And overall, I really, really enjoyed my time with this movie. I thought it was really awesome, and I really, really loved it. An 89 out of 100 is pretty high, and that's pretty great in my opinion. So like I said, I had a great time with this movie. It ended up turning out to be very sad and very painful by the end of the movie, but overall I absolutely loved this story, and this might have been the most beautiful Miyazaki film, in my opinion, just overall, like I said, at an 89 out of 100. So now let's move on to the top 3 of the week, which is starting off with Spider-Man No Way Home. So I had mentioned last week that Mel and I are going through all the Spider-Man movies, and we were going to rewatch the Tom Holland trilogy, but we decided not to, just because ultimately I didn't really want to rewatch Homecoming and Far From Home, and Mel doesn't even really like them that much anyways, so she wasn't really too bothered by it. So we just watched No Way Home, because our entire relationship we've talked about watching No Way Home, and we just haven't yet, so we finally got around to doing it. And we had just watched Homecoming and Far From Home in like September or October last year, so it's still pretty fresh. But yeah, we really just wanted to watch No Way Home, and we were both really glad that we watched it again, because it really is a great movie. And I did lower my ranking from a 91 to 90, because overall I think every time I watch this movie it gets worse, which is sad, even though the nostalgia is crazy. But putting that nostalgia aside, this isn't the best movie, but you know, that's okay. So every time I watch this movie, and every time I have ever watched this movie, Aunt May's death absolutely kills me, and I sob like a little baby, and it happened again this time. But I think I actually cried more at Andrew saving MJ this time, which is really sad, especially after just watching The Amazing Spider-Man 2 last week, so it was super fresh. So I was really sad, and quite depressing, I'm not gonna lie. But you know, overall, I do still enjoy this movie. I ranked it a 90 out of 100, so it's not like I thought it's bad by any means. It's just definitely not in my top 10 MCU, and it's not my favorite Marvel movie by any means, like a lot of people have, which is just wild to me. But yeah, overall, it's still an amazing movie, really. Like I said, a 90 out of 100. Yeah. Let's keep going to number 2, which is Mad Max Furiosa, which Furiosa is tremendous. It is really, really amazing. Absolutely top 2 of the year, in my opinion, and it's really not even that close. I am intrigued to eventually rewatch this, because I do think a rewatch is granted for this, and I'm really sad I never got to rewatch Dune Part 2 in theaters, because I think I'm going to try to watch it this week. But overall, I mean, Dune Part 2 and Furiosa have a lot of similarities and resemblances, I find, but they're both different, but they're also both so similar in like a good way, and I love both of them very, very much. So I would really like to give Furiosa a rewatch, because I never got Dune Part 2 that rewatch, at least not in theaters. So yeah, I think it's warranted, and it deserves that as well, and hopefully I'll like it even more, because I ranked it a 93 out of 100, so obviously it's pretty amazing in my opinion. It's a really great revenge story spanning over 15 years, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this movie. It was 2.5 hours that really kind of flew by. It didn't feel like 2.5 hours. It did take some time for me to get into the world building of Mad Max, because we've just never seen this type of world building in the Mad Max franchise like we got here, and it was really, really great. It was really tremendous. And I really, like I said, I really enjoyed my time with this movie, and I really, really love this movie. Is it my favorite in the Mad Max franchise? No, but it's tremendous. It really is. And like I said, I'm going to give it a rewatch, because it deserves that rewatch, and I want to see if I like it even more or less. But I think I'm going to like it even more this time around. So with that being said, I finished my review off with love that the 2 best movies of the year are about sand, which I just thought was funny. But let's move on to my favorite watch of the week, which is also about sand, and that is Mad Max Fury Road. And I watched this earlier this year when I'd watched all the Mad Max for the first time. I didn't really want to rewatch all of them again this week, except for Fury Road. And honestly, I kind of regret watching Fury Road first, because I think I would have benefited more from watching Fury Road after, because it's just really amazing. It's really amazing. And of course, Furiosa literally just ends as Fury Road is starting, practically. So yeah, overall, This movie is so fucking amazing. I'm gonna read my review. I just got penetrated with some of the most amazingly beautiful action set pieces, color palettes, and cinematography in film history. I cannot believe I may never get to see this in theaters, and I cannot wait to see Furiosa tonight. So I watched them both Friday, I believe it was, and yeah, truly spectacular, truly special. Both of them. I absolutely loved both of them so very much, man. Yeah. This one, though, like I said, Fury Road was raised from, I believe, a 94 to a 98 out of 100, granting it another, or a 5-star, and this is another movie to add to my 5-star list, so I'm very happy about that. I'm very, very happy about that, and like I said, my favorite movie of the week. So, with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy. Let me know your thoughts on Furiosa and any of these movies here on this list. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.